right center. That ball is gone into Monument Park.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the 43rd episode of the Monument Park podcast. This past week, the Yankees were very mediocre with tons of highs and lows, but I like where the Yankees are at a third of the way through the season. Reinforcements are coming, and it's just a good feeling despite being 6.5 games back of Tampa Bay. Luke, how are you doing, my friend?
Good. I mean, all things considered, we're kind of right where we should be in terms of record. Honestly, maybe in an even better spot considering injuries and stuff. And I think the feeling around like Yankees Twitter, Yankee fans is a lot different because of how good the Rays have been. But if they were having like a normal good season compared to what we're having, it would feel completely normal. And I still think it does. I mean, there's a long way to go in terms of like playoff stuff. And yeah, we went 3-3. The bats went cold. And we were playing two talented teams. One of them's hot, one of them's not. But still, you take that 3-3 with two like not great cold starts every day of the week.
Yeah.
Like this is kind of he's had a little rough patch. Other than him, I mean, clearly we've had meltdowns with some starters not going long the bullpen. So all things considered, it's been completely fine.
I'll take full, complete blame for how good the Rays have been this year because before the season started, and I do this every year, like mentally with the Rays, is like, all right, they're the Rays, but this year, for some reason, their team, I just looked at it and I was like, I don't think this team is good enough to just be weirdly good again. And they were more than weirdly good. And they have continued, to be more than weirdly good. Now, they have 10 players with an OPS over 800, which is absurd.
I mean, Jose Siri has like 10 home runs.
Right. So, and he's their 9-hitter.
And he's Jose Siri.
So you gotta look at it and be like, all right, well, we're a third of the way through, and all these guys are continuing to play well. Now, say half of them stop playing well, still pretty scary because then over half of your lineup is 800 OPS with the possibility or probability of the guys that cooled off still have a chance to do something big. I think that's what makes them so that's what adds to their depth is that they have guys even when they're struggling they can come up and get a knock. Like when Brandon Lau came up against Clay Holmes a couple series ago and he's 0 for his last 25 and he just comes in and just singles or doubles, whatever it was. They still have the potential of doing what they're doing right now throughout the entire season. And that's what makes them, a scary team to face. Now, I don't think the Yankees are going to run into them in maybe the first round of the playoffs if they get the, first round, but I don't really know how it's going to shake out.
I was going to get into the playoff stuff later.
Okay. So Brian Hoke sent out a tweet, and this kind of just explains and justifies our confidence at the moment that the Yankees have won 17 of 25 games since May 2nd. That corresponds with Harrison Bader and Aaron Judge's early returns in May to the lineup. And the Yankees lead the league with 46 home runs in that stretch. I'm pretty sure that's the best record in that stretch.
So since we've had a competent lineup, we've been good.
And we're hitting home runs. And I think that's the key. When the Yankees are winning baseball games, they're hitting home runs. I remember there was a crazy stat maybe last year. It was like when the Yankees don't homer, they don't win. And now we're like hitting many more home runs than we were at the beginning of the season. That's just corresponding with the wins. So when the Yankees are swinging the bat well, they're very tough to beat, especially in the regular season. And Luke and I talk about the Yankees every day. We might not be on the podcast every day, but we probably have had 1,000 different episodes just straight phone calls. But we always talk about how, the Yankees stand against the American League because we can't really look at the National League. We can't worry about the National League because we haven't made it out of the American League. So we have to just focus on that. And past the Rays, who, and Luke and I are agree with this, which is kind of a rare thing, that the Rays and us are not really, we're not too scared of them. We feel that we stack up well against them and that if they cool off, we think that we're just as good as them, if not better. If they
you talked about their depth. They have hitting depth. Their pitching is
yeah.
I mean, they've had the injury bug, but pitchers being hurt, I feel like is a lot more complicated than hitters being hurt, especially when it's like any type of arm injury. There's a long recovery. It's just hard to come back and get into like peak form when you need to be. And they're just not. They're not the bullpen they used to be at all. Like we talked about last episode.
Yep.
Their starters are like fine. I mean, McClanahan's obviously really good. They got Glass back, but like I'm not scared of Glass now. I'm really not. He doesn't have good control. McClanahan, he's really good, but every playoff team is going to have really good pitchers.
Right.
But like Cole was going into, I think, outside of the Rays, we stack up pretty well. The Rangers have been phenomenal this year. Obviously, we're
smoked us.
Not on paper, they're not a team to be messed with. And then Houston, obviously. But other than that, like the way the playoff bracket is sorted, if we're going to make a run at the division, we're most likely going to get the 1 seed, which means we'd play the winner of the 4-5, which would be the Rays anyway. So it's kind of looking like we're just going to play the Rays the way things stand, because we're either going to get, I mean, if we make it that far, obviously, but we're either going to get
wild card or
one of the top 2 wild card.
Yeah.
Because the 6 plays the 3, which is the AL Central, which is like pretty much.
And then you have to win the wild card.
That's the thing. But we'll I mean, obviously you want to win the division, avoid the wild card round, but I believe that we can win a wild card series. But regardless of where we're seated, is kind of what I'm trying to say. Like, regardless of where we're seated, even if we have a ton of injuries, whatever, limping at the 6th, like we're going to have to go through. We're going to have to go through good teams regardless of where we lie. So I'm not. Obviously, home field advantage is important and all that, but I'm not going to freak out every single day praying we have to win the division 100%, because the bottom line is we're probably going to end up playing the Rays anyway. So building a team to make a playoff run regardless of where our seeding is, which it feels like we're doing.
I think ideally this is how it goes. Yankees win the division, obviously. That's part of it being ideal. And then the Rays and Astros play each other in the 4-5 game. And so guaranteed, obviously, one's knocked out of the playoffs. And those are 2 teams.
I think we got to group in the Rangers, man.
You got to group in the Rangers, but the Rangers, that's assuming the Rangers win the division. This is assuming the Yankees win
the same thing. Right. We'll avoid one of the 3.
Right. So I mean, I personally feel like we don't deserve to win the World Series until we beat Houston. But if we don't run into Houston, then you can't really do much about that. So that's kind of where I sit with that. To take a look at these last 6 games, the one that obviously sticks out like a sore thumb is the Oriole loss, which I was actually in attendance for. The Yankees looked like they were in control. Nestor looked in control and was just dicing up the Baltimore offense. Unlike what's happened a lot this season, Baltimore has been very tough to pitch against it, and Nestor was holding them down.
We pitched well against them.
Get to the 7th inning, Nestor's coming in mid-70s in his pitch count. You're not going to pull him. You're just not. Well, maybe you do in the future now, because Nestor gives up a walk. He gives up a hit. That could have been questionable, whether it could have been caught by Volpe or not. And then Adam Frazier, lefty on left, off the foul pole. 5-4 game. And then go to the bullpen. Bullpen reeks. Cordero stunk. And then Abreu came in and they just had base hit after base hit after base hit. They batted around. Then it's 9-5, and then the Yankees come in and get the bases loaded and, score a run. Austin Hayes luckily knocks the ball down for them, and we end up losing 9-6. Very bad loss.
That's the thing. Every loss, we have that comeback, that little comeback. Rizzo gets the hit. We're 9-6 bases loaded. Even in seemingly our worst loss, we've always kind of remained resilient, at least got like the tying run to the
Yeah.
plate at one point. And with all things considered, it was kind of a bad luck inning, like a weird play with Volpe and then Frazier. We get porch, which like obviously we're not going to complain about the short porch because we benefit off that all the time. But it's like would it dong on Twitter? It was
Yeah.
like the only park. And then we're seeing tweets, me and Clore talking, and it's Nestor splits in the first, second, and third time through the order. You can get into those. It's clear that there's a problem. I don't know if it's the pitch clock or whatever, but it's
Well, first time through the order, Nestor's gone 23 innings this year, 2.35 ERA. Second time through the order, 23 innings as well, 1.57 ERA. Then you get to the third time, 8 1/3 innings, 23.76 ERA, 7 home runs. That is like you can't even put into words how bad that is. And the fact that it seems to like keep happening is very concerning because Nestor was struggling there and he was probably facing the third time through the order a little earlier than just like the 5th or 6th inning. So looking at this, I feel okay about Nestor because he's doing really, really good against the first and second, times through the order. What I'm concerned about is how long we have to use the bullpen when he goes out there. Because if you have any logic, if the Yankees have any logic, he gets to the third time in the order, you gotta pull him unless it's like left on left and the guy is just historically bad against him. You can't keep doing this. Maybe you let Nestor, build up more and more quality starts. Maybe he gets through, I don't even know if you can get to the 5th inning without going through the lineup twice. I mean, it's 18. Yeah, I guess you can hypothetically. But with Nestor, with the walks and the even the hits sometimes this year, it's hard to go through 5 innings without even sniffing the third. So if Nestor can give us a couple quality starts where he's getting to the 5th inning, going through 5 and 2 runs through 5, 1 run through 5, then maybe you can let him get deeper into games. But I don't know. Like Luke brought up the pitch clock. Maybe that's it.
I think it's neutralizing him because that's his thing is the change of pace. But now everybody's playing at the same pace. So it's like he's not Mr. Stuff. Like he has, he doesn't throw crazy hard. He doesn't throw crazy pitches. So I don't know. There's a lot of ways this can go. I think it's not like you have to automatically pull him. Obviously, every situation is different, but having a little bit of a shorter leash on him would probably do him some good. I also think an opener. Like, I don't know when Luis Gil's coming back, but if he's just going to throw gas for 2 innings and then you go to Nestor, like something like a different look, something like that. This Vasquez kid, you never know. Like it's a creative way to kind of save the pen and get through 7 innings.
Right. Even if it's just Nestor goes through 4 and then you get, 2, 3 after. It's like what stood out to me last year, and I know Luke's going to remember this because like we talked about it all the time, like when it happened, but Nestor made 2 starts, and I probably already said it on an episode this year. Like Nestor made 2 starts against the White Sox, like 6 days in between each other. And the first time he pitched against them, he looked really good. And the second time, he came out in the first inning and they were pounding him. I remember like a 3-run home run to Abreu. I think we came back and won the game, but it just wasn't the same start from him. Now we're kind of seeing it's not start to start, the same team. It's just from inning to inning, at bat to at bat, these guys are becoming more and more comfortable with his stuff. It's like maybe it's like he can give him 1 look and then give him a second look and be effective doing that. And then it gets to the 3rd look and he's already shown him one of those 2 looks. And maybe it was last year where it was like, well, they don't have much of a approach because it's just kind of foreign to them. And maybe this year they have a lot of tape on Nestor and maybe he's doing something wrong with the tipping or he's just straight up getting tired earlier in starts and he's just not, the pitches aren't coming out of his hand the right way. I don't know, but it's just the looks because last year it was a lot of start to start thing, like, going against different teams.
Yeah, I think trouble. A lot of it too is just the change. Like a lot of his game last year was going fast, sometimes slowing down, sometimes lifting his leg up for 30 seconds before a pitch, sometimes, which you can still do the leg stuff, but just in general, eliminating the change of pace that he had compared to other pitchers
Right.
is definitely part of what's going wrong because it limits the amount of stuff he can do to get batters out.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, obviously, as teams see him more, like it'll be less of a weird, like it's going to become more familiar. I
Yeah.
still think it's clearly he's still effective. It just may be for shorter spans. You never know if he's not in shape. Like whatever. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's to have your 4 starter be like this. It's kind of like okay, we'll be able to work around this, especially
Yeah.
at full strength.
Yeah.
Which we're getting
For
closer.
sure. For sure. And even last year, you look at next year and he's like, oh, he's your number 2 guy, just statistically. Now it's this year. It's like, all right, well, guy we'll talk about in a minute, Severino, who's just throwing gas, looks great. Rodon instantly becomes up high up in the rotation until he proves otherwise. So, I mean, it's not something that I'm too concerned about. I'm happy that whoever that was on Twitter, sorry for not giving you guys credit, but
yeah, I saw it. Like
finding what the problem is, because that's clearly the problem. His numbers are so bad the third time around that like you can just point at that and be like, all right, well, that's probably, I would think, a third of the runs he's given up all season. Just third time around. 7 home run balls and a 23 ERA.
Yeah.
Like that's what who knows, 7 home runs like that's very hard to do in 8 innings. Like that's batting practice.
I mean, combined first and second time through is a sub-2.
Yeah.
Like it's clearly just a problem with repeated, like all the stuff we talked about earlier. We don't know exactly what it is, but it doesn't really matter what it is. It's more like we have to have a shorter leash on him, maybe use an opener, or maybe prep for that to be like a Nestor King game and then rely on other guys to get the back end outs.
Yep. I do like
have a surplus of those right now, but I mean, we do it every year. We find guys, we trade for guys. So there's solutions.
I agree. First game against the Padres. I know we skipped through, a couple of Yankee games there. We had the Judge walk-off and then just the Kyle Gibson masterclass. But I'd like to talk about Randy Vasquez, who was already optioned since his start, but came out through 4 2/3, struck out 6, 84 pitches, couple walks, but the stuff is electric. He's got
one bad pitch. Yeah.
He made one bad pitch to probably one guy you don't want to give a bad pitch to.
I wouldn't advise doing that often, but
right. So
look good.
Yeah, just high heat, breaking balls, gross. Excited to see what he can bring. You never know when we'll see him again. Luke brought up before the episode, a start like that can really
boost your value.
Trade value for
of Luis Hill last year versus the White Sox, or just in general, we had a couple starts. One of them was good, one of them was bad, or like not great, but then he blew his arm out. And it was like, if he hadn't have blown his arm out, I think a lot of teams could have seen like how his stuff translated in those couple starts, and that could increase his value. And knock on wood, Randy Vasquez doesn't blow his arm out. I think we have like he could have done some good things for his trade stock.
Then again, it's like finding the familiarity with the pitcher. It's like, like he's throwing 100, dropping a breaking ball. It's really tough to face. So it's like, in the cutter. It's gonna be tough for guys to just like face that and pounce on him. But to go out Yankee Stadium first start against a really talented lineup and do what he did, it's very encouraging to see. And that's a guy that we didn't really talk about a whole lot. I think he had a rough spring and had a good year last
year. He had a rough first half of the season this year, but then the last 5 starts, he had like a 2.15, I think.
So he's settled down a lot recently. Hopefully he's figuring it out. And hey, if he can bring, if they call him back up and he can give him a couple more good starts and maybe even cement himself in the back end of the rotation with the uncertainty about Herman and what he's going to be tonight and in the future, well, we'll see. Talk about Severino throwing triple digits.
Yeah, I was at this one. Like they didn't have a chance up there. No. It was not even close.
Nope.
Like, they're banged up. I think Bogart sat and then Manny's out, but you still have Tatis and Soto, which He threw one bad pitch to Tatis and hit a home run, but that was like the
And it
only
was like
hit
it
up,
was
I
the
think.
first inning, right?
No, it was like the second time up. But
Really? Okay.
yeah, we scored
Yeah.
first. But anyway, I mean, it wasn't their full lineup, obviously. And
Give up
outside,
one hit.
yeah, no, it was that. That was it. He
Yeah.
was unstoppable.
Yep.
It wasn't the most talented lineup. Like Rugi led off. It was kind of weird. But they still, I mean, I don't know. He did what he's supposed to do against less talented hitters and limited Soto and Tatis to one hit.
Yeah.
And he looked great doing it. It wasn't like he was throwing 93. He was throwing 99 like regularly.
Yeah. I mean, can't tell you how many times he threw 100 last season, but I can't say it was too many. So coming back out soon off
Yeah.
the injury, it's like they ran him back out there. It was very weird because they like kept him in the game and then pulled him.
So yeah,
Pitch count was weird.
It was like he threw 75 last outing. I figured he would throw 85 this outing. And he was 2 outs in the sixth. Or no. He pitched 6 and 2/3. So it may have even been 2 outs in the seventh. That was the other thing. He was moving quick. Like he wasn't messing around.
No.
And he had 82 pitches, 2 outs. And the last he had 3-2 to Cruz. And the ball slipped out of his hand and it went like to the backstop. It like wasn't even close.
Yeah. Oh, and
He like put his hands on his knees, and we all kind of thought he was hurt. So Boone went out. He told him he was good. I assume because of the pitch count, it was like, okay, it's your last batter.
Yeah.
And then he gets, I forget who, like Grisham, the rollover, and Gleyber just botched it.
Yep.
So realistically, he got through 7 innings.
Yep.
But then it was his last batter either way. I had to pull him, and then Hassan Kim came through. But it was nothing against Severino. I mean, he looked like a stud, and it's something good to build on and very hopeful for this run.
Need it. I mean, that's all you can really say. You don't have too much to back up, but just would love more clarity on, because he only made, I think, 2 minor league starts, and then this is his second major league start. So
Really fine taking him out at 85 pitches. I wasn't bothered.
Yeah, no, not at all. Just going into that inning, like how much has he got left in the tank? What's the plan there? Because that's something you can kind of pre-plan. And this is really, I want to give this to Luke, because Luke's been passionate about this lately.
He's booting the ball all over the place, but no, he's been impressed. He's impressed me a lot as a hitter this year. I think last year I was very not like anti-Gleyber, but I hated what he was a tough watch because he was hitting like 250, 260. He had a lot of good months, actually. He had one blow-up month right around the deadline, but for the most part, he was a good hitter. But he just didn't know how to have an at-bat. He was not great with 2 strikes. He wasn't great. He struck out a lot. He didn't walk much. And this year, it's clear he's kind of taking a different approach. It kind of reminds me of Rizzo almost, where he's looking for a pitch, like early in the count, looking to do damage, and he'll get to 2 strikes. And he's had a lot more success. The strikeouts have been down. Strikeout to walk is similar. Even if both of them are low, for him, being a former number 1 prospect, you have enough talent to where if both your strikeouts and walks are low, I trust you to put together good at-bats, have good contact, and be a good hitter for us. And this is going to be, even when he like wasn't doing great, still the idea of having him 6th or 7th he's a good 6 or 7 hitter on every major league ball club. But now that he's kind of having better at bats, he's doing well. Him not being leadoff or 4th or whatever is going to feel a lot better than it might even right now. But he's been playing well. His OPS is high for him, especially. It's not like the average is going crazy, like high and low. It's not as streaky. That's the other thing. It just doesn't feel as streaky. But if he can have this level of production at 260, the hits will come. He just has to not keep the strikeouts and walks kind of similar. So I've liked what I've seen out of him compared to last year.
He's interesting because he already had like the crazy peak at the beginning, and then he couldn't hit his hat for like 3 weeks. And now he's like, what?
Was it that long?
It was that long. Like he went on I remember just yelling at Luke and I's friend Nick about just how consistently bad Gleyber was for really 2.5, 3 weeks there. but he started to pick it back up. He's just not a consistent player historically. So, I'll commend him for what he's done lately, but it's just, I hope he can, continue this, because if he doesn't, it's just yet another Gleyber peak and valley. And we've talked about this countless times. As I see Luke's trying to confirm whether or not Gleyber was bad just for 2 weeks.
It was like 7 games.
Was it 7 games?
Yeah, like it wasn't. I think the beginning of the season brought a lot of panic too. Like he really has been pretty like consistently decent.
Okay.
So he went like 7 days without a hit. But
okay, well that's not good.
Which like Bader just went through that. Like that's kind of normal.
Yeah.
It just feels a lot better. Like,
I just need him to be consistent, because that's the only thing holding him back from being, a good player. I don't want the Yankees to re-sign him. I'll stick on that, but I want him to just be consistent. And it's weird because last year, advanced statistics, he was a great defensive second baseman, and this year I haven't looked at the defensive metrics, but he's just not been good in the field. Like he's playing, it's weird. It's like he's become much more of
the metrics are
smarter hitter.
And I can't like figure him out.
Yeah, but we watch the game and it's like he's just a lot worse than he was last year. I don't know. So.
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, no. As long as it's the thing with the strikeouts, when you get cold, you're just striking out all the time. And then it's like, okay, but if you're consistently putting the bat on the ball, like I said, and he's not like a no-name, like we know he has talent. So if you're consistently putting the bat on the ball and you have the level of talent that he does, he's maybe not the superstar that like we thought, or originally thought in 2018, but he can be a very solid player for us. And that's something we've lacked is we've had superstars and then we've had guys where it's like they have peaks and valleys, but the valleys are like nothing and the peaks are like kind of mediocre. So having just like a solid guy round out our lineup is going to feel good going down the stretch.
Hopefully. Anthony Volpe has really lit up the Twitter world. A lot of people throwing out, the word that starts with scran and then ends with ton. Just, going through a rough patch. But the thing with him is, he can go through a rough patch, and right now there aren't too many positives. But when he was struggling, at the beginning, he was still adding a positive element. Pretty much every single night he went out there, he was making a nice defensive play. He was, getting a big hit, but still went 1 for 5. So
he did it the other day.
Yeah, right. He goes 1 for 5 every day, or goes 0 for 4 with a walk-off sac fly. It's like, you got to look at the positives. And right now there aren't a lot of positives, so people are really up in arms about it. But you got to give it some time. And I think, these last couple, the last 6 games, it was up and down as we talked about. And there were some losses in there, especially games where we just didn't hit it all.
That's the thing. The lineup was crumbling around.
Right.
So
lineup's crumbling around. They're just going to point their finger at the guy with the lowest batting average, and that's Anthony Volpe. So, I think as the Yankees, start to get guys back, a.k.a. Stanton, even I don't know if Donaldson's going to bring anything, but, as they get guys back and, they start to hit the ball even more than they have been, even though they've been hitting it really well. If Volpe struggles, but we're here to develop our top guy. And I don't know if games in AAA Scranton are really going to develop him anymore. I don't know.
Case in point.
I look at Jared Kelenic as an example, and the guy gets called up, in my opinion, way too early. And I think a lot of people agree with that. But for the Mariners, maybe not so much. They call him back down. He hits really great. Then they call him back up, and they screwed up his development because they called him up too early. Volpe was ready, and I stick on that. Volpe played enough minor league baseball and has shown at the big league level that he can be the guy. He's got a lot of stolen bases. He's got more home runs than we thought to this point. He can be the guy. I don't think sending him down to Scranton's going to do much for him.
Doesn't do anything.
And it's just going to make us look, it's just going to be a weird situation. Like, unless you go and trade for, I don't know, Tim Anderson, or you go and get someone to, like, that's strides better than him, or not strides better than him, and just a better ball player. You want to go win the World Series and you don't think that AV can be their guy. Okay, fine. But right now, you got to play him. And he might go 0 for 4 tonight. He might go 0 for 4 tomorrow. He might go 0 for 4 for the next week. But you just have to keep playing him. And you got to be patient, because people are losing patience. We're, about 10 games over 500. Have some patience. If we were 10 games under 500 or at 500, okay, start screaming. But right now, relax.
I don't think there's any world where he shouldn't be on the team through the year, on the postseason roster. Like he's a part of the team. Sending him down does absolutely nothing, like you said. Another tweet I saw was just comparing his first however many games in Double-A compared to this, and it's like the same thing.
Yep.
This is completely normal. Jeremy Pena did the same thing last year. It's just when you bring up a 21, 22-year-old kid, this is going to happen. Not everyone's going to be Juan Soto.
Nope.
In fact, no one's going to be Juan Soto. That's not really how it works. So it's just one of those things. Even if we do go trade for a Tim Anderson or another infielder or something, I don't know, he should still be hitting ninth and play.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of, his struggles are going on, and then slowly but surely, not really slowly, Oswald Peraza has just been great in AAA, just tearing the cover off the ball. And he was already on the team once this year. Volpe made the team over him. Then Donaldson got hurt, and they called him up for a very brief period. Then they sent him back, or he got hurt. They sent him back down. Didn't really play him, but now he's playing every day in AAA. Peraza's doing exactly what Volpe would be doing in AAA. Just tearing the cover off the ball, hitting home runs, stealing bases, playing good defense. There's no pressure there, okay? I agree. I would like to see Peraza on this team. Peraza is a part of the Yankee future unless they trade him. Peraza is a guy that obviously is making no money, is a starting caliber player, can play good defense, is a solid hitter, has a little pop, can steal bases. Yes, it's all there, I think. And I would love for him to just be on the team right now and be an everyday player. But right now, it doesn't make enough sense to have him up and Volpe.
Right now, and having him play twice a week doesn't do anything for us, really, because we have abundance of guys that can play.
Hurts his value.
Especially with Donaldson. And that's what I was getting into. Like, the trade deadline's approaching. It's clear we're going to make moves. Every time we're good, we make moves. Even if we're not good, we make moves.
Yep.
It just leaves the door open to trade him if we're having him down there hitting 350.
Yep.
So we'll see where we're at in mid-late July. If it's like, okay, we're really not going to trade this guy. Donaldson's been awful. We want him to come up, play some third, move DJ to second, move Gleyber to DH, kind of do a rotating wheel like we did a couple years ago. That's completely fine, but there's no reason to put that into place right now when it's like, okay, we're playing super well. We can give Donaldson one last shot before we cut him. We have IKF who can play third. He's not great, but he's serviceable. He's had some big hits.
Yep.
It's just a waiting game. It's just keeping our options go open. It's just not handcuffing us to not having a lot of people to trade, because that's honestly what it would be. Peraza is one of our main trade pieces right now, and there's not really room for him right now. So
I just want everyone to be patient. Not everyone's going to have the same mindset as us. Not everyone's going to be as positive as us, but you just got to look at it. You're about 10 games over. Relax. Okay. The season started.
We're like more positive this year than last year.
Oh yeah. 100%. I mean, well, the thing was last year is they're comparing the Yankees to the 98 team. And it's like, all right, we're sitting here and it's like, well, that's just not true. And then it's this year, everyone's like freaking out about, so
the roster's just the best it's been in a while. So we're
trying to be more positive and go against the grain and it's looking.
It's not even because we're going against the grain though. Like, we're right.
It's not. No, no, that's true.
It's gonna get better.
It just so happens to be going against the grain, and that's what I like. I like doing that.
That's another thing.
So there's a play in yesterday's Yankee win. Fernando Tatis, who the Yankee fans were just ragging on him 24/7, which I didn't really understand. I find that that's just number one, hasn't worked for you. And number
Yeah.
two, just hypocritical. Okay. There have been so many guys on the Yankees, A-Rod namely, that have cheated and have led to Yankee success. So when
Yeah,
we're out here,
Clemens, it's like
right, we're out here just chanting cheater at Fernando Tatis. It's one thing if you're chanting it at the Astros, and I still don't like that because it hasn't ended up going well for us.
you lose
But
every time.
chanting at a guy that took steroids, like, come on. Like, find something better to chant at somebody than just chanting cheater. And then he goes in and hits 2 home runs. Looks like he's having the time of his life doing it because he's just off the back of you. I can't stand. It's weird. I can't stand like the Yankee fan base.
Well, I've been thinking about this a lot because I'm at the game. I'm watching us do the wave. I'm listening to the Tatis boos, and it kind of dawned on me. Yankee games are just kind of like a social corporate.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
In addition, like it's not all like it's in the Bronx, like it's not, but it's not all union guys. Like there's people bringing clients. There's people bringing people that don't really watch baseball that just want to go because it's a Yankee game at Yankee Stadium.
Yep.
There's people like I just
and there's
said,
alcohol.
they just want they just want to go drink and have fun. So it's like I don't even think the people going to Yankee games are a good representation of the fan base.
Oh no, it's not.
It's not even close. But it's like those it's not even Yankee fans sometimes.
I guess
People
I use
that
the word
aren't big
fan base.
baseball fans.
But there are a lot of people, and I can just use this as an extra part of my argument, just on Twitter, where it's like, all right, like you have a platform, and you're just using your platform to use like to just present your opinion to everybody else when your opinion's just blatantly wrong. And I know everyone has an opinion, but when it's just wrong,
it's like
it's a bad look.
It's like I get doing stuff for clicks. I get saying things to get views and all that, likes, whatever. But there's no reason to boo Tatis for being a cheater. On the other hand, I didn't love the play where he ran into Rizzo, didn't slide on the back pick. It was like Russell Westbrook-esque, where he just runs down the lane in his prime when he was super athletic and just barrels people
No
over.
regard.
John Morant. Like, it's just one of those where he didn't do it. Like, his intention wasn't to be like, okay, I'm going to hurt Rizzo here. But it's a dangerous play to not slide in a close play regardless. I feel like it ends in an injury every single time. And on top of that, he kind of didn't really check on him. He kind of stood there.
If you want to boom for that, go right ahead.
That's what I mean.
But like, what the heck did Tatis do to the Yankees? Okay, like nothing. If anything,
love for the Yankees.
Yeah, exactly. We make the A-Rod comps about this guy because he's a 40-40 guy. And okay, fine. You know, he's this cheater. He's got 10 homers this year, and he's killing it. And he missed 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe more. I don't know. He's been unbelievable since he's been back. The numbers aren't really that great, but the home runs are there, and the steals are going to be there.
He's just an electric
be
player.
Quiet. Just be
He's
quiet.
Just an electric player. It's like
even if it wasn't Yankee fans and people that don't even watch baseball, someone had to start the chant.
Yeah, well, it's the drunk people in the bleachers. Like, what are you gonna do?
It's like 1 o'clock on a Saturday.
I don't know. I didn't love that play. I think every close play you gotta slide, especially on a back pick or like a steal. Like I had a back and forth with someone on Twitter that not angrily at all, but it was just like he compared it to Gleyber where he doesn't slide back in on pickoffs. And it's like pickoffs are kind of not the same. They're not usually a high action
right.
play.
And the first baseman's positioned
like kind of a formality.
The first baseman's positioned on the front corner of the base. The chance of the runner just running into him are very slim because he's got the entire base to hit. Yeah. With this
pickoffs
play,
are a strategic thing more. Like not every pickoff is trying to get the batter out.
With this play, it's like the left-handed first baseman's going to straddle the bag so he can tag the runner out. And like his right foot was, off the base, and Tatis just really didn't hit the bag. And
it's not even he did it on purpose. I think
Tatis has continued to make poor decision after poor decision. So I'm not surprised by this at all. guys just do that,
Yeah.
you know?
Nah, yeah, it's like it's not smart baseball. And
He's just
anyone who
not a
thinks he
smart
did it on
person.
purpose, I think is a little crazy, but he's been a frantic player not frantic, like just wild player.
He's
Days of
just
shortstop.
wild,
Yeah,
doesn't
he's
use
just a
his
wild guy.
brain.
And I think
Okay.
there's gotta be a line where you're gonna get someone hurt or yourself hurt, and nobody wants to see premier players in the game getting hurt. So
And there
I
are
just
two right
wish
there.
I just wish players were smarter sometimes.
And I
But I
like
mean,
the little
or
shove Rizzo. Rizzo shoved them a little bit.
no, it was good. I think I think if he was less hurt, that may have been like a thing. Like
Yeah.
if he wasn't actually that hurt and he was just mad, I think that would have been an altercation. But
Yeah.
doesn't
I
sound
mean,
like he's that hurt. He'll probably be in the lineup tonight. So I don't
yeah.
know. I guess no harm, no foul at the end of the day. But it just
And I
bothered
don't
unsmart the play seemed.
I don't know if Luke feels the same way as he was coming at my guy Higgy yesterday, but you know, with the
He
Yankees,
wasn't coming at Higgy.
he wasn't coming at Higgy, but with the way the Yankees have been playing lately, I'll take any out we can get, especially with Garrett Cole on the mound, who
Not
we haven't
it's
talked
not
about
you
this
don't
guy. We haven't
like
talked about this guy.
oh
Garrett
Higgy.
Cole, like
Oh yeah.
we're done with talking about the Higashioka, whatever the top. Okay,
I just wish he would do that anytime ever
fine,
in like a
fine,
real game.
over.
But
Garrett Cole has just been serving up the long ball time after time after time lately. And it's like, this is the Garrett Cole that we all loved in the past. This is the guy that we saw about last 2-3 years after he was freaking Pedro Martinez, the first couple starts, first 10 starts, whatever it was. Now it's like, all right, he's completely human. He gave up 6 runs yesterday. He gave up a ton of runs the last time out there. He doesn't look good. Okay. So, you know, everyone talking about, you know, every time someone talks about how Garrett Cole's going to win the Cy Young, like mid-season, he just falls
yeah,
on his face.
he's gonna have these. He's a fastball dominant pitcher. Sometimes they just get got. The Padres just signed Gary Sanchez, by the way. Which
It's literally a Yankee Mets Padre because the same thing happened with Robbie Cano.
which I mean, we watched Austin Nola for 3 days. Worst player on the planet. Their backup.
Except remember when the Yankees walked him to get to
I
Tatis
do.
or Soto the other night?
He redeemed himself on Sunday. Marinaccio had a big outing in that crazy game that just shut the door.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when Marinaccio walked Nola to get to Tatis before giving up a bomb on the first pitch was
Stephen Hawking.
But yeah, no, I mean, good for the Padres, I guess. I don't know. Their backup Sullivan made some nice plays on us.
I saw he was doing well. Yeah, I mean, as Luke said to me, that they're probably going to be a clear-cut team to go get Grandal, considering he's been in San Diego before, familiar there. You know, switch hitter probably makes sense for them. They're not afraid to making midseason trades, as we have seen, especially last year. They traded for everyone and their mother. You know, DJ LeMahieu is a guy that we would like to talk about because much different season, a lot different than, I mean, at this point, it's like we're looking at his contract and you look at how good he is defensively and then how, in my opinion, mediocre
in the game I was at.
What?
Big play on Tatis in the game.
Yeah.
He hit the little chopper and he made the play to send it to the bottom 10th.
He's a great defender. And I'll always love that out of him. And that's, I think, what made him so just unbelievable when he was in his first 2 years with the Yankees and he was arguably the best pure hitter in the league. Now it's like, all right, well, he's playing mediocre he's mediocre at the plate. To me, it's mediocre. If you look at the drop off from where he started and where he's really been for, this is the third year where he's kind of just been maybe a slightly above average hitter. And now it's like the defense, it's like he's probably playing up to the market value of his contract. And when we thought it was a complete discount that he was giving us, now it's like, all right, well, got him for a bunch more years. He's hit 320 on base. He's striking out more than usual. He's chasing more than usual. He's not really walking a whole lot. Yes, every time Luke and I criticize him, he does something cool the next day. And it makes it hard to really get on the guy.
2 days have been decent. It's just like overall, we need to see him get going. I mean, there's not much else to it. He hasn't really been up this year, really. I mean, he's been like
got to an 800 OPS at some points, like, and then now it's like, well,
probably pretty early. I don't know. It's still so long way to go. I feel like he ages well throughout the season. I don't know. There's nothing we can do. That's the thing. He's our
No, there's
third.
nothing we can do.
Like it's just what it is, and he's gonna be one of those guys that we need to be solid if we're gonna
Yep.
be a contender in the American League.
Aaron Boone has been ejected. I want to say maybe 5 times, 4 times, maybe 5 times. Well, the last time he got ejected, the night before he got suspended for the ejection, he had already been thrown out by that home plate umpire. I think it was Sebastian Maniscalco. I could be completely botching his name. My apologies. I think the youngest ump in the league. That umpire also threw out Matt Blake in our game earlier this year. This guy, we just don't like him. And
well, he's a hardo.
Yeah.
He's missing. All Boone was saying was all the strikes that he was missing, which was a lot. Clark's fighting for his life out there.
2 different strike zones for the Yankees and Orioles.
It was
a video. There's a complete, like, if you are that umpire and you're watching that, you can't justify it. You can justify you can justify having your own strike zone, I think, sometimes. But at least be consistent. Like, please.
That's what
Like, please. Because, like, we see, like, the stat cast, like, the hitter-friendly umps, the pitcher-friendly umps, the neutral guys. You can't just be, like, this the entire game.
I mean,
like,
there was the easiest. There was collages made, or not collages, but, like, highlight reels made 3 innings into the game about how not even he was.
Yeah.
Like, it was just 2 different zones. And you got to have just a quick hook. I think the ejections have been, like, there's the weird play against the Reds where they just gave them a run, and that was like, whoa.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
That's what I mean. But, like, I'm fine with him arguing these situations.
Yeah, no, I'm not mad. It's just a bit funny how he's just losing his marbles. But I would be too. I really would, because right now it's like the Yankees started off struggling and now they're trying to get back. And if some unfortunate things are happening to us, I would be just as mad, because we're trying to get back to where we want to be and where Boone wants to be and where, the media sees Boone. Like, it's his job we're talking about here. And, I don't really blame him for getting booted out of an 11 o'clock Peacock game. I think I would want to just go home and go back to sleep.
The umps, like, if you throw a manager out on a quick hook and his arguments are just completely justified, I don't see why umps don't get reprimanded for having bad games.
Yeah.
It's like, you're missing calls. I don't know. He's a new ump on a power trip. He'll live. 1 game suspension. Yeah. We got through it. It's fine.
Yeah. So with all these guys coming back, it's natural that we're going to be sending guys down. Trevino, we're probably going to see Rortvedt go back down. He's not going anywhere. Donaldson's coming back and Stanton's coming back. Trevino should be back probably tonight. Maybe not tonight. Maybe in LA. Donaldson probably going to play a couple more minor league games before he's back. And then Stanton hasn't really started his rehab yet, probably, as Luke's saying to me, after the West Coast trip. Because that would just make sense.
There's no reason to force these guys into a 6-game West Coast, even if it's like, okay, you send them out to LA for the back 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
A lot better than, like, we got to hike just to Seattle down there. Just logistical at this point.
Let them come back to the Bronx. But so, like I said, we're vet for Trevino. Now we look at the roster. We've got guys on the bench. We've got Cabrera. We've got Higashioka. We've got Bowers, and we've got Calhoun. Now, I think Cabrera has been god-awful
at some point.
Cabrera is a guy where it's like, all right, you could send Oswaldo Cabrera to AAA, and everyone can breathe. Get the guy some consistent at-bats. Let him figure out what he's doing wrong. Okay? It's completely different than sending Anthony Volpe, your number 1 prospect, down. Okay? So
he's 24 still, young kid.
Cabrera, you can send him down.
He's going to be a part of the team, too. That's the thing, is sending him down in May doesn't mean he's not in June, whatever. Right. Send him down for a month doesn't mean he's not going to be part of the team.
He's a humble guy. He's a confident kid. Sending him down is not going to ruin his confidence. Send him down, okay?
He'll be back in August.
Yeah,
maybe he'll be a part of the team. He'll be a bench piece in the playoffs, which it's very important to have a good bench.
Stanton for Cabrera or JD for Cabrera. Now you look at it. Do you Bowers and Calhoun have no?
I liked what you said earlier, though. You got to send Bowers down first.
Well, you can't send Bowers down because Bowers. You got to cut Bowers first.
Got to
because
cut one of him or Willie because neither can play defense.
it was annoying with Jake Bowers because the guy like had flashes like through 6 games. They're like, oh, the Yankees have, like on the broadcast, like Yankees really like this guy. They said it every game. The Yankees really like this guy. They really think that they flattened out his swing, that they really figured him out. And he hasn't done anything. Like he's at 170, he's 4 RBIs, like 2 home runs. Willie Calhoun, though, is like honestly like almost playing every day at this point. Hitting 240, has 3 home runs, 10 RBIs. OPS starts with a 7, so already exceeding expectations.
Willie Calhoun, like we can live with a 7.
Lefty bat has hit some home runs when I wasn't expecting them. Got to just keep him. Got to keep him in there because he's, not going to play a premium outfield and came up as a second baseman
play outfield
a long time ago.
He's
not playing.
He's not. I don't think he's played out.
You just got to keep him and Jake Bowers showed that he's, not the spryest.
He kicked the ball to the fence against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and then that unfortunate bobble against the Reds that led to Boone's ejection.
No. Yeah, you got to send Bowers down first. Like you said, you have to. You
got to cut Bowers.
Have one guy that can't, or whatever. So yeah, cut him. Only have one guy that can't play defense for whatever when JD comes back, I guess. But then when Stan comes back, it's like, okay, Oswaldo, we have IKF who's been fine in the outfield.
Got to have a lefty bat off the bench. So for now,
Greg Allen for now. Like go have a month and go figure out
about Greg Allen. Do we have a 5-man bench right now?
Huh?
We have a 5-man bench right now.
Rortvedt.
I named 4.
Well, one of them's like a starter technically.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But no, like that's what I mean.
5 bench players when these guys are coming back, and
we're rounding out a bench. It's gonna look nice. We get Cabrera right in the minors. We'll live till then, and then when it's like full go, we're gonna have hopefully another bat or 2 from the trade deadline. The team we have now, and then our bench is gonna be IKF, Cabrera, Allen, backup catcher, which is you kind of cover every base of what a good bench needs.
Yeah.
Now. So
our
bench at the beginning of the year, we had Franchi Cordero.
The Bulldog.
We've came a long way with kind of rounding out the depth of this team.
Yeah. I mean, IKF, and I know there's no credit to be taken here. IKF was a guy that we traded for him. You knew what he was. You knew that he was a contact guy. He led did he lead the league in hits? I think maybe not. I just maybe made that up. He's a guy that gets a lot of base hits, not going to hit for an entirely too high average. He's solid. He won a Gold Glove at third. Now he's coming over to the Yankees as a starting shortstop. A huge task for a guy who
how you made him a shortstop.
Just really isn't much of a shortstop. So
doesn't make sense to me.
His bat, and I said this at the very beginning of the season, it's like, yeah, he's not going to be necessarily a starting player. But the thing about him is having his bat off the bench, having his bat in the later innings, a guy that can just put the ball in play, put the pressure on the defense, and be fast at the same time. That is so valuable. And he's shown that he's a clutch player. He just is. He's come through. His numbers with runners in scoring position were probably better than most of the team last year. And everyone was up in arms about how he was playing and this and that about the guy. But now it's like he understands his role. They're running him out into positions that he's really not even supposed to be playing. He's playing left field. He's playing center field. They haven't really played him at short, but he's playing third base, playing his natural position. But now he's going out in the outfield. Right now, he's got to be playing in the outfield every single day, or at third. He's got to be playing every single day because he brings more than the next guy. And he just gets it. He's just in the post-game interview saying all the right things. He's not
that's just like it's. I think I tweeted it or something, but it's like he understands. He's not like some of the other role/Cinderella players we had in the last couple of years where it's like they get a good stretch in or they're given a big role of being the shortstop or whatever, and then they become prima donna and kind of complain when things start to come down to earth. He knows he lost the job. He didn't play well enough last year, but we kind of made him do things. We put him in a role that he's not suited for, and now this year he understands his role. It's way better suited for him. and he's been accountable, which is something we haven't had a lot of in these players in the past. Done everything right this year. He really has, because he wants to be a Yankee, which is another thing. You love that, because it's clear some people don't want to be Yankees. They don't want to be in the limelight, this and that. It's clear that even though he knows he's probably not going to be a consistent starting player for this team, he's going to play a major role in our playoff run, in our stretch. Big hits, had a walk-off. That's the thing. Contact guys in late innings, like you said, in the late innings, the ball just finds a hole, make a defense make a play, and they a lot of times don't.
I say a lot on these episodes, and I'm not sure if I said this last time. The Yankees just released their order, and Willie Calhoun is the 3-hitter tonight, which means Anthony Rizzo is out of the starting lineup, unfortunately. So that's not good. But, is what it is. Torres second, Judge and right, Calhoun DH, LeMahieu the first baseman, Bader center, Bowers left, IKF short. Wow. Higashioka 8, Cabrera 9. Wow. Okay, well, we just did that whole segment on IKF about how he's just not a shortstop, and here he is playing shortstop. Well, that's
I like getting Volpe the off day.
I do like that too. It has helped.
Well, why not play Cabrera at short and IKF at third?
That's a great question, Luke. I don't know the answer to that.
The same thing, but it's better.
IKF, I don't know if I said this on the last episode. Luis Sojo in 2000 was the Yankees' quote good luck charm. Luis Sojo wasn't a good ball player. He just wasn't, but he was scrappy. And to have a guy like that who came up against Al Leiter, who was, I think, over 125, 130 pitches in the game, comes up, hits a 9-hopper up the middle. Pretty much, it was the game-winning hit for the Yankees on the road at Citi Field. Sorry, Shea Stadium. See, our generation. IKF could just be that. He could just be that. He doesn't have to do too much. He just has to.
He showed it Saturday. He swung at a ball on 2-0 and hit a 3-hopper down the line. But it's like, if it finds the grass,
ugliest swing we've seen, but it worked.
It's the job done. And sometimes guys just have that knack.
Yeah. I have a trade idea. I know I bring up trade ideas every episode. But 2 years ago, the Atlanta Braves won the World Series, obviously, something that we really want to do. They brought in an influx of outfielders, but two that stood out were Jock Peterson and Jorge Soler. Now, I think the Yankees can do the exact same thing this year, but with one of Peterson's Giants teammates, Lamont Wade Jr. Lamont Wade Jr. this year against right-handed pitching. Leadoff Lamont, 278 average, 431 on base, 452 slug, with 6 home runs, 10 walks, 9 strikeouts, and 160 plate appearances against right-handers. Against right-handed pitchers, Lamont Wade is a very solid hitter, and he gets on base a lot. And that's something that I feel like the Yankees could really use at the top of the order.
We don't have a leadoff hitter.
We don't have a true leadoff hitter. Now, on days where a lefty's pitching, you got a guy in Miami who's been tearing the cover off the ball, Jorge Soler, who was also on that Braves team, as I said. He homered in 5 straight games, except for last night. This year against lefties, he's got a 1453 OPS with 9 home runs and 53 plate appearances. This is a guy that you could put in the lineup as the designated hitter. You can play Stanton in left, and Wade's on the bench. I know we just talked about how deep our bench can be, but I really do think using this platoon could really put the Yankees over the top and help them win their 28th World Series championship. So,
I mean, yeah, we've seen it with Soler in the playoffs. We've seen it with Jock in the playoffs. We need a leadoff hitter. Some combination of these 3 guys needs to kind of happen here, because we need a leadoff hitter. We need playoff presence in the playoffs. We need left-handed hitter, and we can't. Yeah, I mean, you can never have enough clutch players in the playoffs, really. And if Soler wants to come in, hit a home run every other game, it's like, that's huge. So no, I mean, yeah,
it's different, and I feel like, I feel like it's a move that the Yankees would make.
It's feasible. Yeah, it's feasible.
It's feasible. The Yankees always try to get a little cute with it, and I think this is as cute as you can really get. Going with a platoon of two guys that aren't like the biggest names on the market. This isn't going and getting Cody Bellinger. This is getting Wade and Soler.
We could also get Cody Bellinger.
Yeah. I don't want to keep on going. Our next topic was about Estevan Florial. the Yankees go and play 6 games on the West Coast, I believe, 3 against the Mariners, 3 against the Dodgers, and then come back home. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. And I mean, before we get into Florida, I mean, Jake Bowers is playing for his job tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, for tonight, and I think he's done.
See ya. See ya.
Yeah, I really do. Like, I think he's playing for his job.
Yep. So the Yankees are back home to play a 6-game homestand against the White Sox and Red Sox on June 5th starting June 6th. So yeah, we got to come back into this West Coast trip with our kind of backs against the wall in the Seattle series, and we'll see what we can do against the Dodgers.
We got to battle on this West Coast. West Coast is always tough. Mariners and Dodgers is just kind of a tough combination. So, yeah.
Thank you guys for listening and watching, and we will see you very soon. Peace.